Let us begin then with the subject of the regime change project in Iran. We're going to examine the current state of play. For the time being, it appears that the anti-government protests have dissipated, if not ended altogether. On Monday, major demonstrations were held in support of the Iranian state in various Iranian cities. Of course, the rioting could resume at any time, but the Islamic Republic seems to have gained the upper hand over its internal opponents. And this leaves the Trump regime, of course, at a crossroads. I'm sure that he was hoping that the internal unrest would cause the collapse of the Islamic Republic, but that hasn't played out according to plan. So now he has to decide whether he's going to intervene militarily. And in weighing his next move, Trump, I would imagine, is concerned about the public mood in the United States because the midterm elections will be held in early November, less than 10 months from now. And a huge majority of Americans do not want the U.S. to intervene militarily in Iran. A poll published by Quinnipiac University 2 days ago, or yesterday actually, January 14th, found that in the wake of U.S. threats of military action against Iran, if protesters are killed, and protesters have been killed, that is clear. 70% of voters think the U.S. should not get involved, while a mere 18% think the U.S. should take military action against Iran. 12% did not offer opinion. So there's very, very little support for another military adventure in Iran. Independents opposed by 80% to 11%, Democrats 79 to 7%. Interesting that independents were even slightly higher than the Dems. And even a majority of Republicans, 53% oppose a military intervention, only 35% support it. So this poll comes against the backdrop of Trump's approval rating, which remains low at about 42%. I have to say it's nonetheless amazing that Trump has an approval rating that high. And I think it's really a testimony to the power of the American propaganda system that despite the chaos of the past 12 months, he still manages to gain the approval of, more than 2 in 5 Americans. What is even more amazing is that so many Americans oppose U.S. military intervention in Iran, despite the corporate media's obsession with the protests and its grotesquely one-sided coverage. And I'm just going to show you here a screenshot I took of the Guardian homepage a couple of days ago. 3 days ago was before the protests were brought under control. And you can see the top 5 articles are all about Iran. And they are either, these articles, the headlines indicate, are either highly critical of the Iranian government or adopt a neutral stance, maybe even a slightly positive tone with respect to Trump's consideration of a military option. So, and there were numerous other articles in The Guardian on that day. This reminded me, Rami, of the first few months of the war in Ukraine. I couldn't believe it. I mean, every day you go to the website of a major Western newspaper, it was all Ukraine, all Ukraine. That's all you could see. And we saw that again here. I'm almost at the point, Rami, where I'm starting to suspect that the editor-in-chief of The Guardian is an MI6 plant. I have no evidence to back that up, but it's insane how this supposedly progressive anti-war media outlet, which has a lot of influence amongst people who lean to the left in the West, at least those who speak English, that it consistently supports every regime change initiative, including the takedown of President Maduro in Venezuela, that the U.S. government has pursued since the current editor-in-chief of The Guardian replaced Alan Ruxberger, I think back in around 2014. In any case, the coverage in the mainstream media has shifted somewhat as this attempt to bring down the Islamic Republic by internal unrest has evidently failed. So what is Trump now saying? Trump now is making, I guess you could call them relatively conciliatory noises about what's going on in Iran. Here's comments he made to the press yesterday.
Ron, you said that the killing has stopped. Who told you that the killings have stopped there?
We have
regime?
been informed by very important sources on the other side, and they've said the killing has stopped and the executions won't take place. There was supposed to be a lot of executions today, and that the executions won't take place. And we're going to find out. I mean, I'll find out after this. You'll find out. But we've been told on good authority, and I hope it's true. Who knows, right? Who knows?
We've seen the body bags, so how do you trust them?
No, you've seen that over the last few days, and they said people were shooting at them with guns, and they were shooting back, and you know, it's one of those things. But they told me that there'll be no executions, and so I hope that's true.
Does this mean military action is now off the table against Iran?
No, we're going to watch it and see what the process is, but we were given a very good statement by people that are aware of what's going on.
Is that still considering military actions?
When they say no executions, everyone is talking about a lot of executions were taking place today. We were just told no executions. I hope that's true. That's a big thing.
What's your reaction to all of that, Rami?
Well, first of all, this is not the first time that kind of Trump kind of gives a Trojan horse, right? Where it seems like he's offering an olive branch. We saw this just, I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago when there was these negotiations for peace between Russia and Ukraine, and then all of a sudden we see an attack on Putin's residence. So I think I stopped listening to what Trump has to say. And you look at this, I think just yesterday, Iran shut down their airspace for a couple of hours. Today, the IRGC said that they're on full alert. So regardless of what these words, I mean, it kind of mean wars about deception. Is he trying to deceive the Iranian people? He's deceived the Venezuelan people. He's deceived the Russian people, the Palestinians. So I don't really accord any importance to what he just said. And alternatively as well, it could be that he's giving indications to, because there's Mossad agents in Iran right now protesting. It seems like there's a cue there that the more there are killings, the more these killings are provoked, the more the images are gruesome, well, Trump will have a reason to intervene. So by claiming that he's stopped seeing killings, what he's actually saying is that if he sees images that he doesn't like, which are more than likely to occur if you can manufacture this. I mean, we've seen mosques being torched to the ground by these protesters. It's going to lead to a harsh reaction from Trump, and basically setting the conditions for what will lead to an intervention by the United States.
I couldn't agree more. So let's look at what Trump is actually doing. By the way, Donna Vorce, thank you for your comment. Shut the fuck up, you self-admitted groper of women and creeper on pageant girls in dressing rooms. Even Epstein, as Donna points out, said that Trump is a horrible person. Wow. Thank you for reminding us of all of that, Donna. In any case, let's again, as we've said many times on this program, what you really need to pay attention to is what Trump is doing, not what he's saying. You know, this man, calling him a pathological liar is an insult to pathological liars. So before we get to that, I want to comment one thing about this video, this clip that we just showed you. It's sickening how he always portrays himself as the guy who scares the shit out of everybody, right? Oh, the Iranians are stopping the executions because they called me up and they promised they're not carrying out any executions. You know, and the implication being that the threat that Trump poses to them has caused them to step back from the worst forms of punishment on those who are trying to overthrow the Islamic Republic. I doubt there's any truth to that at all, frankly. I don't know.
That is days after ICE killed a protester. Well, not even a protester, just a bystander in her car in Minnesota.
Yeah, and these lunatics are driving around Minneapolis, running people off the street, like literally just hitting vehicles in traffic, brutalizing people, not showing their faces, not giving any identification, has zero legal justification. It's all unconstitutional. But hey, let's concern ourselves over here in North America about what's going on in Iran. So that's the state of play in the White House. But out in the real world, let us look at what the Donald is doing. He ordered an aircraft carrier battle group, according to multiple reports, to move from the South China Sea. What the hell is it doing there to begin with? To waters near Iran. And here you see a report one of the many from News Nation. The Pentagon is moving a carrier strike group from the South China Sea to the U.S. Central Command Area of Responsibility, which includes the Middle East, as tensions escalate. So this was January 14th yesterday, and it says that the movement of the carrier strike group is expected to take about a week. That doesn't sound like de-escalation to any rational human being, but it doesn't stop there, folks. In addition, an anonymous U.S. official has told Reuters that the United States was pulling some personnel from key U.S. military bases in the region as what the source described as a precaution, given the tension. And here you can see a report yesterday in Al Jazeera, and the withdrawal, it pointedly mentions the Al Udeid military base, air base in Qatar, as one from which they are withdrawing personnel. This is the largest U.S. military base in the region. It dominates Qatar. I was actually there 2 years ago. I wasn't, of course, allowed into the base, but I did a report on the edge of the base. And it is truly gigantic. It doesn't only house U.S. forces, it houses British forces. The Qataris have forces there. This particular base was struck with great precision at the very end of the 12-day war. Although Trump claimed initially that Iran's ballistic missiles did no damage, subsequent satellite imagery showed that a missile struck and destroyed a very expensive, I think it was a radar facility or kind of like a dome that was intended for intelligence gathering purposes, and it just hit it on like a bullseye. So the Americans must understand at this stage that their military assets and personnel at this base are at risk. And of course, Iran has talked about a preemptive strike if it sees signs of an impending attack. And what are you to take from, the movement of an aircraft carrier battle group from the South China Sea to West Asia, and the buildup of other forces in the region? Those are clearly signs of an impending attack. And so I don't think it's out of the question that this time around the Iranians will strike preemptively. And although I'm no military expert and I don't want to see war, if in fact it is the U.S. intention and Israeli intention to launch another criminal war of aggression on Iran, I would think that a preemptive strike is precisely what they ought to do, and rather than allow the Americans and the Israelis to dictate the course of the coming conflict. But let us hope there is no strike by anybody. And I also want to point out that there was a large buildup of U.S. warplanes in the region. There were reports that they were transferring various types of fighters and bombers from European military bases to bases in the region. So again, plenty of signs of an impending attack, which raises the question about whether Iran will carry out its threat to execute a preemptive strike.
And
go ahead.
I also think that, there is essentially already a war in a sense where the United States imposed 25% tariffs on all countries that still trade with Iran. Iran is a major importer of rice from India. India has been, I think there's been some speculations online that India has cut exports of rice to Iran. So essentially, you're manufacturing a famine and a war against the Iranian people. So this war could be played into different forms, not just militarily with these Navy carriers or these ballistic missiles that are all pointed towards Iran. But more shockingly is I kind of define this as the pseudo-leftist to neocon warlord pipeline that I've been seeing online, essentially within like my network in Montreal, where I'm seeing them post their stories promoting the woman life freedom movement in Iran, calling Iran the regime, and repeating essentially Zionist propaganda. All is giving permission basically for Trump to have the necessary support from the population to push an invasion of Iran or to attack militarily Iran. And that is the same playbook that we saw with Maduro, where for years we've been hearing, baseless claims that Maduro's a dictator. And then the day of January 3rd, when it happened, then all of a sudden, it was not as shocking for many people than it should have been.
Yeah, I just want to share with you a comment from Catherine Foley, Mohammed Morandi. I was just about to talk about Mohammed Morandi, but I wasn't aware of this. Catherine says just 5 minutes ago, he said that no one from Iran contacted Trump. Oh, wow. How surprising that Trump is lying. You know, and I just want to, again, stress that in the lead up to the 12-day war, the Trump regime was pretending to be negotiating with Iran over its nuclear enrichment program. And there was a meeting scheduled to occur the day after or 2 days after they launched their criminal attacks. The Israelis launched their US-backed attacks on Iran. So it is entirely possible, as you suggested, Rami, I think even likely, that this quasi-conciliatory language we just heard from Trump, it's just, you know, Trump trying to pull another fast one on the Iranians. I doubt that that's going to engender any kind of complacency in the Iranian leadership this time around.
They assassinated Qasem Soleimani the same time he was supposed to go to a peace negotiation or some form of discussion, and then tracked his location and then assassinated him. I mean, it's rinse and repeat from Trump's side and the American side in general.
So, as I said before, I want to say a few words about a recent development involving Professor Morandi. You know, many of you will know him. He's an Iranian academic based in Tehran. He actually fought on the side of his country in the war against Saddam Hussein and was wounded. He speaks English impeccably and has been, you know, widely covered. His views have been widely covered, even in the corporate media. And so recently he appeared again. He's been on Piers Morgan many times. I haven't actually watched it, but I watched an interview in which Professor Morandi described what happened. And I understand that this Piers Morgan episode this week, Professor Morandi was talking about the huge protests or demonstrations in Iran on Monday in support of the Iranian state. And there was video footage released, which we've shared, which appears to show a gigantic gathering of demonstrators in central Tehran, easily hundreds of thousands of people. Some say it's in excess of 1 million. And apparently Piers Morgan was claiming that this could be generated by artificial intelligence, that it wasn't real, even though Professor Morandi himself, a frequent guest on Piers Morgan's show, was at the protest and talked about how at one point there were so many people that they were worried about getting crushed in the throng. And things got a bit dicey for a while. But it was a peaceful protest. And in any case, as I understand it, in the middle of this rather spirited exchange between Piers Morgan and Professor Morandi, without any warning at all, and after Professor Morandi had said, I'll only do an interview if do it solo, I don't want to be, you know, debating with anybody on your program other than you, with no warning, Piers Morgan brings into the conversation this nefarious, putrid character from Canada by the name of Goldie Gamadi, who's an Iranian Canadian. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about her in a moment, but she, following this exchange where she was just blasting Professor Morandi on Piers Morgan, she put out this post. This is Mohammed Morandi. There's a photo here of Mohammed Morandi, which I didn't include in the screenshot. He is the Joseph Goebbels of the terrorist Islamic dictatorship. Today on Piers Uncensored, I told Mohammed to his face that when Iran is free, the tip of his pinky finger will be the biggest piece of him after we Iranians are done with him, threatening him not only with death, but with dismemberment. It may probably won't surprise you to know that she is a lunatic, extremist Zionist. She's, I'm sorry?
I could tell by the tweet.
Yes.
By the
Yeah. And then she put out another one. Here's her next doozy. And this time she expands her threat. It's not just Mohammed Morandi. She says, every single last one of you Nazi Islamic terrorists, we will get you all. Okay. She's based in Toronto, I understand, by the way. Now, I'm not going to show you the video here, but this screenshot shows only a small part of the video that she posted with this comment. Most of the video shows the pro-government or the demonstrations held in Iran on Monday in support of the Iranian state. And as anybody can see, there are all kinds of women and children in that demonstration, even babies and, strollers. So the implication of this is that she thinks, all of those civilians in this video she posted with this comment are Nazi Islamic terrorists, and she's threatening basically anybody who is associated with support for the Iranian government with death. I think you could barely, how else can you construe these two posts? Why this person hasn't been arrested by the Canadian police for threatening lethal violence against people, including civilians, children, women, and an academic is a mystery. But that's exactly where she belongs. She belongs in prison. She's a criminal, in my opinion, for having uttered these threats. But she's still out there blasting away on social media. And if you want to see a little more about her, she's got the, as what I understand to be the monarchic version, the pre-Islamic Revolution version of the Iranian flag in her X profile. She says she's an ex-politician, a human rights advocate. She's threatening to dismember a human being, and she calls herself a human rights advocate, raising awareness on occupied Iran, blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you a little more about this character. Goldie Gamari was a member of the legislature of Ontario, Canada's most populous province, from, I believe it was 2018 to last year. So she was in the governing Conservative Party caucus in the Ontario legislature. And she's formally an international trade lawyer. That's how she's described herself. But she was found by the Law Society of Ontario, of which I am a member in good standing, to have engaged in professional misconduct and had her license to practice law suspended in 2021 after repeatedly failing to cooperate with a regulatory investigation involving some very serious allegations by a client of hers. And in June 2024, she was removed from the Conservative Party caucus by Premier Doug Ford for what his office called repeated serious lapses in judgment after she met with British far-right racist Tommy Robinson. And let me tell you something, folks, if you're not familiar with the politics of Ontario, if you are too right-wing for Doug Ford, the current Premier of Ontario, then you are off the charts right-wing, okay? This guy is himself a hard-right politician. So that tells you all you need to know about this character. And I'm just going to go back here and show you again what her X handle is, at G Gamari, Ghamari. If you're on X, please feel free to reply to her disgusting posts and let you know how you feel about them. Of course, we don't endorse or encourage any threats of violence. We don't want to see that kind of language. But if you're offended by this and are interested in showing solidarity with Professor Morandi, you can do that by replying to her grotesque posts. So let's move on then to the subject of the genocide in Gaza. Before I do that, Rami, I just want to, any comments on this psychopath, Goldie Gamari?
I mean, not at all. It's also, there was a post by Anita Anand, who's basically legitimizing these types of comments, in my opinion, when she keeps calling the Iranian government, the Iranian regime. In some way, I mean, what is a regime? It kind of makes you think of the Nazi regime, right? It's some illegitimate body occupying a people. And it's that kind of dog whistle coming from the higher ups in our governments, in the federal government, that kind of gives a carte blanche to people to, I mean, come up with these threats. I mean, I know damn well if any one of us said something remotely similar related to Palestine, to Zionists, we all know that this would be cover page all over the news. Yet this just went under the rug over Professor Morandi, who's an eloquent, well-spoken person, well-mannered. I don't think, I mean, he could take heat in a debate, But these types of threats really have no place. Yet that post wasn't removed by X, by Elon Musk. And I truly believe that the Canadian government is creating a platform or empowering people to speak this radically against the Iranian people or defenders of the of Iranian sovereignty.